A random kid's screenshot from his Nintendo 64 in 1999 just sold for over $800,000, plus 4 other items for a total of over $3.25 million. I'm going to walk you through every single one, what it actually is, and more importantly, why somebody wrote that check. Hey everyone, my name's Alex, inside the Arena Club studio here at Cards HQ in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm excited to be here. I've been with the company since 2021, overseeing all of our TCG and non-sports data, and I'm here to break down some interesting sales of cards we rarely see hit the market. Quick note before we start. Every price you see is the final realized price, buyer's premium included. That's what actually left the buyer's bank account. And I'll flag the grade and the population on each one because in this market, those two numbers explain almost everything. One more thing up front. 4 out of the 5 of these are Japanese cards. We'll come back to that at the end. A Skyridge sealed booster box sold for $225,000 this past month. Number 5 is the only item on this list that isn't a slab. It's a sealed booster box of Skyridge from 2003. 36 packs, never been opened. $225,000. Skyridge is the last English Pokemon set Wizards of the Coast ever printed. After this, Nintendo pulled the license and took the TCG in-house. You can see this in the print run. Wizards was on their way out the door, so they printed almost nothing. What's inside is the other half of it. Skyridge is home to the Crystal-type secret rares, Crystal Charizard, Crystal Ho-Oh, Crystal Crobat, plus a box topper. Some of the most beautiful cards Wizards of the Coast ever made and brutally hard to pull. Now, why was that sold for $225,000? Here's the part that should get your attention. In 2021, the record for a sealed Skyridge box was $90,000. Earlier this month, Heritage, one sold for $212,500. That was reported as a new all-time record. 3 weeks later, this one went for $225,000. That's the record broken twice in a single month and 2.5 times the 2021 number. Sealed wax is the only true self-destructing asset in this hobby. Every box that gets ripped is gone forever. Supply only goes one direction. And Skyridge started with a tiny print run to begin with. And it wasn't alone. In that same Heritage event, Expedition went from 50K to 112K, Japanese base set hit 137K, Neo Destiny hit 60K, all records. That's not one crazy bidder, that's the entire Wizards of the Coast era sealed category re-rating at the same time. And on our charts we have pulled up in market movers just to see that as a visualization. Beautiful box, 2003 Skyridge. These do not sell often at all. We can see a little dip down to 206,000 on 628. But we're back up to 225,000 with that most recent sale. Another interesting thing to look at is if you look at the booster pack price. Booster packs are going absolutely crazy. Over 365 days, 41 have sold, which is a very good amount for a low print set. Now my guess is with this box, whoever bought it, I highly bet that it's going to stay sealed. And the whole reason is if you look at the cards in the set as a whole, knowing the price was $225,000, say you pull, the chase card Charizard, in a PSA 10 that goes for around $104,000, and that's a pop 249. Even with the Umbreon in a PSA 10, $71,000. The point is, if you were to open this, it'd be very hard considering the low pop mounts and the price of the cards to get your monies back based off what you paid for the box. My bet would be you'll probably see this box up for sale once again in, I don't know, maybe the next year or so as the price just keeps going up and the supply keeps going down. Number 4, a 1996 Japanese base set Charizard sold for $518,500. This is the highest public sale this card has ever recorded. This is the 1996 Japanese base set, not the 1999 English base set, the actual first Pokemon cards ever printed, released in Japan in October of 1996. 3 full years before most of us ever saw one. This is the original Charizard. Tons of these were printed. You could buy one for pocket change back then in comparison to the sold price of this one. Now, why this card sold for $518,000? Centering 10, corners 10, edges 10, surface 10. This is a Beckett Black Label, all 4 subgrades perfect. Population 3. Out of the millions printed, only 3 have ever come back flawless. And then there's a second sticker on the slab, an NBA Black Diamond. That's in a second opinion certification, an independent house re-examining an already graded card and certifying it as a top fraction of a % quality. It's a relatively new layer in this hobby and very prominent in sports cards, but slowly coming over to high-end TCG as well. Now, I want to be clear about what this sale is and isn't. This is not a rarity play, it's a condition play. You're not buying a scarce card, you're buying a scarce grade, and that cuts both ways. Population 3 is what makes this $500,000. But populations grow. Cards get resubmitted, cards get cracked, regraded, standards drift. If 2 more Black Labels surface in the next 18 months, that number gets tested in a way that the next 3 items on this list never will. That's the tension of the whole vintage market in one card. Now, looking at a couple Charizards I've pulled up in Market Movers to see their data over all the days, I pulled up a couple variations just to give some relevance to where this sale stands as a Black Label. So in this list, we have the 1996 Japanese base set number 6. This is actually the holo without the rarity symbol. In a PSA 10, there's only 10 of these. These are extremely rare. I've also added the same Charizard in a PSA 10 holo. Pretty common, 998 pop. We have the same card in the Black Label sale. This is the one that just sold for $518,000. And then lastly, I added a first edition holo PSA 10 English Charizard just because it hovers around the same price point. Do I think this price was high for this Black Label being a pop 3? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, but the fact is the no rarity symbol is selling for $641,000. You have the Black Label for $518,000, and then 3 years later, you have the first edition Charizard holo selling for $402,000. Let me know in the comments, do you think this was a good buy, or would you rather own the no rarity symbol or the English version? Number 3. A 1999 base set pre-release Raichu sold for $640,500. We have a PSA 6 at number 3, and it just became the most expensive Raichu ever sold. This card was never supposed to exist. In 1999, Wizards of the Coast was stamping the word pre-release on Jungle Set Clefable promos for pre-release event attendees. At some point, a sheet of base set Raichu got run through the same stamping line by mistake. They immediately caught it, nearly all of them were destroyed, but a handful walked out of the building in employees' pockets. And then for 20 years, nothing. 20 years passed and this was just a folklore in the hobby. There were forum rumors, a claimed private sale that a lot of people convinced was an April Fool's joke, no verified copy anywhere. Plenty of serious collectors flat out believed it didn't exist. The problem was authentication. Anyone with a stamp could fake it. It took until 2023 when CGC used multispectral imaging and X-ray fluorescence to analyze the actual ink composition and confirm the stamp was period correct, much like carbon dating. Only 3 copies have ever been professionally graded, 2 by CGC, 1 by PSA, until recently. Now let's go back a little bit further to September 2025. A PSA 6 pre-release Raichu sells at Heritage for $550,000. At the time, Heritage said it was the only copy PSA had ever graded, record for any English language Pokemon card. 11 months later, at Golden, $640,500, up 16.5%. PSA's census on this card went from 1 graded copy to 2. Think about what this normally does. Supply doubled. In a population of 1 market, a second copy surfacing is the single most bearish event that can happen to your card. You just went from owning the only one to owning one of two. The price still went up 16.5%. That tells you the demand for the card is deeper than its supply by a wide margin. When you can double the float and still print a record, you're not looking at one obsessed buyer holding up a price, you're looking at a line of people waiting. This is the purest scarcity trade on the entire list, and the grade proves it. A PSA 6 is technically a beat up card, but for this card, the grade does not matter at all. When roughly 10 copies exist on planet Earth and the demand pool is global, condition stops being the variable. Compare this directly to number 4, the Charizard that's worth $500,000 because it's perfect. The Raichu is worth more while being visibly imperfect, because perfection can be manufactured and scarcity can't. Now in Market Movers, we track this card, this 1999 Pokemon game promo pre-release. The thing is, you're not gonna see much data on this card. For grade selection, we have PSA 6. There is a PSA 5, it's never publicly been sold, but there have been 2 separate certs that are PSA 6s that sold, and we can see that below. We have the original one, 550,000 at Heritage in 2025, and then a new cert appeared in 2026, which is the one that sold for 640K. These are extremely low pop 2 and a 6, pop 1 and a 5. You're likely never to see these on the market, and when they do go for sale, there's tons of people that want them. Kind of a high risk card to have, but the demand for it is out there, and people love seeing the earliest air card that is technically not supposed to exist. Number 2, 1999 Koro Best Photo Snap Bulbasaur, $809,943 for a Bulbasaur. The previous record for any Bulbasaur card, this beat it by more than $600,000. Now this is my personal favorite one on the list. The year's 1999, Pokemon Snap came out on the Nintendo 64, the game where you drive around, you're taking pictures of Pokemon, Professor Oak's telling you, yeah, that's great, or try again. Huge game, awesome game, part of my childhood. If you were in Japan, Koro Comics ran a contest where if you played the game, you took your pictures and you mailed it to their headquarters. They essentially picked winners, but they didn't tell what they would receive. Most people thought it would be a poster or a t-shirt. Turns out it was their actual screenshot that got printed on a real Pokemon card. And look at the bottom of the card, where the Illustrator credit normally goes, it says Photo Yuki Tanaka. That's the kid who took the picture. He was playing the game on his Nintendo 64 in Japan, took a picture of the Bulbasaur, sent it in, and then a couple months later, he has his image that he personally took on an official Pokemon card where only roughly 20 copies exist worldwide. PSA has graded 7, only 2 are 9s, and you rarely see any of these cards come up for auction. Why the $809,000 price point? This is where it's interesting. These cannot be reprinted, ever. Not because of a licensing issue or a lost print file, because the card is a specific person's photograph from a specific contest in 1999. It's the closest thing this hobby has to a one-of-one with a documented human story attached. And it wasn't alone. In the very same auction, the best photo Charmander in a PSA 8 sold for $640,000, an all-time Charmander record. The best photo Squirrel sold for $555,000. The entire starter trio set all-time records in one night. Here's the tell, in literally every other set ever printed, Bulbasaur is the cheapest of the 3 starters. You've got Charizard, you've got Charmander, Bulbasaur is typically an afterthought. In this promo, Bulbasaur is the most expensive by over $170,000 over the Charmander. This means that the market is not paying for the Pokemon, it's paying for the object, the story, and the population count. When that flips, you're not in a character-driven market anymore. You're in an artifact market. So we track all these cards in Market Movers, although the data is pretty sparse because these do not go up for sale often. Really good looking cards. You can see that it's got the camera for the set icon. You have the photo Yuki Tanaka at the bottom as the creditor. Same thing for the Charmander. Great photo. Lastly, the Squirtle. A PSA 6 just now sold for $555K. This PSA 8 that sold in 2023 for $73K, I'd imagine if that went up for sale now, it'd be, I don't even know, close to $1 million. That is the highest grade in this card. Before we get to number one, if you like what you see in terms of the graphs, the data, and all the stuff we're tracking, head over to marketmoversapp.com where you can sign up for free and see all these prices in real time with comps. You can track your collection, and we have an extensive library of Pokemon cards, One Piece, and all other TCGs. Here we are at number one, a 1998 Illustrator Pikachu, selling for $1,006,500 for a BGS 8.5. I want to show you how it got there because the shape of this sale matters more than the number. Hammer price was $825,000. Add on Golden's 22% buyer's premium and you land at a little over $1 million. 29 bids. Sit with that. That wasn't one collector waking up and deciding a card was worth $1 million. 29 separate bids walked this card up past $750,000 and it closed at 10:36 on a Saturday night. There were multiple people willing to pay 7 figures for a mid-grade Illustrator. That's depth of the demand, and it's a far better signal than a single headline price ever is. If you only know one card in the hobby, it's this one, the Pikachu Illustrator. This was awarded to winners of the CoroCoro Comic Illustration Contest in 1997 and 1998. 39 copies were distributed. The artwork is by Atsuka Nishida, the person who designed the Pikachu in the first place. And here's what makes it structurally unique. Out of every card ever printed in the Pokemon TCG, this is the only one that says Illustrator across the top instead of Trainer. And down in the corner, where every other card has a rarity symbol, circle, diamond, star, 2 stars, this one has a pin. It's the only card that does. Now, why is it worth $1 million? You need some context here, especially from February. On February 16th, Logan Paul's copy, the only PSA 10 in existence, sold at Golden for $16.4 million. Guinness World Record, most expensive trading card ever sold. Now look what that did to everything underneath it. PSA 8s were trading around $480,000 back in 2023. PSA 9s are estimated around $840,000 today. And this BGS 8.5, call it PSA 8 to 9 territory, just cleared $1 million. Mid-grade Illustrators have roughly doubled since 2023. This is the textbook post-record pattern, and it's worth understanding because it repeats. A monster headline sale doesn't just set a ceiling, it re-rates the entire grade ladder below it. Every collector holding a 7, an 8, a 9 suddenly reprices against a $16 million anchor. And those 29 bids tell you the re-rate is real rather than one buyer's opinion. Here's your homework. Golden's Summer 100 auction closes September 19th, and there's a CGC 9 Illustrator in it. That's the single most important data point in vintage Pokemon right now. If it clears $1 million, the $1 million is the new floor for mid-grade Illustrators. Stall out, and this August sale was the top of a spike, with February pulling prices forward instead of upward. I'll be covering it either way. So let's pull the thread. 3 things jump out. 1. The money went to Japan. 4 of the 5 are Japanese, not first edition English holos. They are Japanese promos, contest prizes, and origin story rich cards. The high end of this market has decisively shifted towards cards that are Japan exclusive and effectively unreprintable. 2. Condition mattered, less than it has in years. Look at the grades that set records this month. A PSA 6, a PSA 8, a BGS 8.5. 5 years ago, the vintage market was gem mint or nothing. This month, 3 of the 5 biggest sales were mid-grade or lower, and the question buyers were actually answering was how many of these exist, not how clean it is. The one exception is the Black Label Charizard, and notice it's the cheapest card of the 4 singles. That is not a coincidence. 3. Nearly everything here was a record. Bulbasaur, record. Charmander, record. Raichu, record. Japanese base Charizard, highest public sale ever. Skyridge box, record, twice in the same month. Illustrator, highest public sale for a Beckett graded copy. That's broad momentum across unrelated categories, which is a very different signal from one card popping off. The honest caveat, this is trophy tier stuff. $1 million Illustrator doesn't automatically lift the raw Charizard in your binder. But when scarcity-driven, story-driven cards run this hard at the top, that appetite usually works its way down the ladder, and the places I'd be watching are low-pop Japanese promos and sealed Wizards of the Coast era wax. Now, which one of these 5 cards would you actually want? For me, it's a Snap Bulbasaur. A random kid's Nintendo 64 screenshot is now an $800,000 asset, and I think that's the most Pokemon thing that has ever happened. Tell me yours in the comments. If you want to track any of these, pops, comps, price, history, that's what we do here. Links below. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you when the Illustrator CGC 9 closes on September 19th.